All right. So guys, my name is Jitin Singh. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. I have more than 11 years of technical experience. Trained in some Azure technologies with some on-premise technologies. So like I'm trained in Azure Fundamental, Azure Administration, Azure Security, Azure Architect and Designing, Azure DevOps, Intune. Also trained in some on-premise technologies like Windows Server Active Directory, storage of the on-premise, the networking of the on-premise. So these are few technologies I'm trained upon. Right. Again, would like to welcome all of you. A very warm welcome to all of you. Today we are here to discuss regarding the Azure Architect course, that is AZ305. It talks about designing Microsoft Azure infrastructure solutions, right? So before I take you to PPT, I would like to share something. Let me share something. All right. So basically,
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that okay? Like, after finish this course, you guys will be share this PPT?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So we can share the recording. In that recording, you would be able to get the PPT as well, right?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. So basically, guys, in this particular course, as we discussed, this is AZ305, that is designing Microsoft Azure infrastructure solutions. So that's a bit of introduction that I give. Now, thing is, why should we move towards Azure, right? So first of all, what is Azure? Why should we move towards Azure? We'll discuss it in a very brief manner. Traditionally, in the anyone who is new to the technology, so we will take it from a very root level. Traditionally, what we used to have something called as on-premise. On-premise is nothing but organizations used to create their own data centers within their company premises, and they used to call it as on-premise, right? So organizations create their data centers within their own premises, and they were referring that as on-premise. Now, when organizations were creating their own data centers within their own premises, those data centers will have some limitations. For example, let's say if it's a mid-size organization, right? Guys, hope I'm audible. Guys, hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are.
Okay, I think one gentleman is unable to hear me. Varun, check your connection. Everyone is able to hear me fine. Okay. So basically, the limitation was, okay, so data center will have some limitations. Limitation is, let's say an organization build their data center in Bangalore, a city in India. Let's say they build their data center in Bangalore. Now they would be able to support the customers in Bangalore or maybe nearby Bangalore, right? They would be able to support their customers, let's say in Bangalore or nearby Bangalore. For example, let's say a client named Yahoo approach that particular organization that, hey, I want you to help me out in hosting my servers. I want you to help me out to host my application server, or I want you to help me out to host my database servers, right? So what will happen? That client would be able to, the organization would be able to support its client if the request is only for the India-based users, right? Or nearby India-based users. But let's say after some time, client gets happy with the services and client says, I want you to help me out with my UK-based users as well. I want you to help me out with the UK-based users. Would the organization, let's say ABC organization who developed their data center in Bangalore, would it be able to help Yahoo for the UK-based users? No. From India data centers, it would not be able to support that. Reason being, if application server it will deploy for the UK-based users or US-based users, the request will come from US to India and will go back. That will take a lot of time. Performance will be bad, latency would be high, right? And it is not possible for each and every organization to create their own data center. It's not easy. It's not like they cannot create it. Creating data center takes good amount of money, right? For example, if we try to build a data center, first of all, we have to spend huge amount of dollars will be spent. We need to finalize a place. Maybe either we have to take a building on lease or we have to purchase that particular building. Then we have to procure the hardware. Then we have to set up networking, cooling, power, backup, electricity. And then we have to hire right skill set of people who would be able to manage those data centers 24/7. So it's not easy. It would be very, very costly. Right? Because organizations were unable to do it. So big organizations like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they came up with the concept of public cloud. Means they are saying we will be creating huge data centers across the globe. You don't need to create your own data center. So tomorrow you want to support any India-based client, you can deploy your application server or you can deploy your resources in our data center. Tomorrow you want to support US-based clients, UK-based clients, we have data centers over there. Deploy your application server, database server, networks in US or UK-based data centers. After 2 months, maybe you need to support Australia-based client, you can deploy it there. So they came up with the concept of public cloud. As the name suggests, it is open to all. It is open to all the public. A single user can use it. A group of people can use it. A small organization can use it. A big organization can use it. So basically, it is open to all. Right? So Microsoft public cloud is called as Azure. Amazon public cloud is called as AWS, Amazon Web Services. And Google public cloud is called as GCP, Google Cloud Platform, right? So today, since we are discussing Azure here, we'll try to keep the discussion towards this area. We'll try to talk more about the Azure side, right? Now, there are other organizations as well who are into this cloud business. For example, IBM has also made their cloud, Oracle has also made their cloud, but these are the three big players in the market. So that is the reason this public cloud came into the picture. Now, why should we move to Azure? If we are moving towards Azure, we would be able to get all these things. We would be able to get high availability, scalability, elasticity, agility, fault tolerance, disaster recovery, global reach, customer latency capabilities, predictive cost considerations, and security, right? So what is high availability? Let's say I have deployed my application in Microsoft data center, right? If my application would not be available, the business solution would not be available. So there are certain services in Azure with the help of which we can make our application or we can make our data redundant, highly available, right? We would be able to make it highly available. There are different services. We can make use of availability sets. We can make use of availability zones. We can make use of LRS, ZRS, GRS, RAGRS, different methods by which we can make our service, be it application, be it database, be it storage, some data that we have stored, we can make all those things highly available. It is highly scalable in nature. Highly scalable means, let's say right now maybe I was storing only 100 GB of data, or let's say 1 terabyte of data. Suddenly my application became a hit and I have to store data for a lot of customers. Maybe I need to store 500 terabyte of data, 1000 terabyte of data. So I can store huge data. I can create large databases, highly scalable. Or let's say I was running a virtual machine. I was running a machine on which I was running my application server. That application server has got, let's say, 4 CPU and 16 GB RAM. Application is getting a lot of traffic. What we can do, we can make it highly scalable. We can make that machine highly scalable. Maybe to the same machine who has got 4 CPU, 16 GB RAM, we would be able to allocate, let's say, 64 CPU and 256 GB of RAM. It would be able to handle good amount of traffic. So highly scalable. We are getting all these benefits with Azure. Highly elastic. Maybe I was running my application server in just one machine. If the traffic is increasing, I can run the same application on 50 machines. I can run the same application on 500 machines. So highly elastic in nature. Agility. Agility is how quickly we can perform things, how quickly we can respond. So Azure is highly agile in nature. If you want to provision something, within a couple of clicks, within a minute or two, you would be able to provision something. If you want to deprovision something, within a couple of clicks, within a minute or two, you would be able to deprovision things. So it is highly agile in nature. Fault tolerance. The hardware that has been deployed, it can handle a certain amount of fault. Disaster recovery, right? So we discussed one scenario that we created our application server in Bangalore data center. Let's say Microsoft has got their data center in Bangalore. Just an example. We deployed huge amount of data in Bangalore. We deployed huge amount of application servers in Bangalore. On a given day, there might be a big power failure in Bangalore. On a given day, there can be some natural disaster in that place. What will happen? If there is a big power failure, if there is a natural disaster, the entire Microsoft data center can go down. The entire Microsoft region can go down. What to do? How to operate our services on that case? On that case, we can create a disaster recovery. I am saying if everything is going down in the India region somewhere, I would like to replicate everything to Hong Kong. If in case my India side would be going down, I will fail over to Hong Kong. Whatever data I'm storing in India, whatever application servers I'm running in India, whatever database servers I'm running in India, I am replicating everything to Hong Kong. If India side goes down, I will initiate a failover, right? I'll initiate a failover and I will start operating things from Hong Kong so that business will not go down. Business will not take a hit. So it can provide us disaster recovery. Global reach. Azure has got data centers across the globe. It has got data centers across the globe. So it provides us global reach. If you want to deploy some resources in US or in UK or in Germany, Middle East, Africa, Asia, China, Australia, anywhere, you can deploy it with the help of this. So they have got their data centers across the globe. Customer latency capabilities. Now, let's say if your users are in India, you would like to deploy your application server in India. If your users are in Australia, you would like to deploy your application server in Australia, right? So basically, as per our customer, we would be able to control the latency capabilities. Latency is how much time it takes for a request to go and to come back. So we would be able to control it. How can we control it? We try to deploy the resources as close as possible to users. We try to deploy the resources as close as possible to the users. Shubham, you will not be getting any certificate for attending this webinar, right? In how many countries Azure is operating? Kajal, Azure provides services to 140 countries. As I mentioned, guys, I will be taking all your questions. Just make a note of your questions for a while at the end of the session, right? I don't want to like disrupt this flow. At the end of the session, I'll be giving you guys good amount of time to ask all your questions. So just a kind request, please make a note of your questions for a while. I'll take all your questions in a few minutes. Thank you. So basically, then we have something called as predictive cost considerations. Before you deploy something in Azure, there are calculators. You may use those calculators and you can find out how much price you have to pay. So before you deploy anything. So there is something called as Azure pricing calculator. So before you deploy, let's say you need to deploy 10 machines, you need to deploy 2 databases. So before you deploy it, you would be able to find the cost of it. Security. There are certain services available in Azure with the help of which we would be able to secure things. Security can happen at multiple levels. We can do security at a network level. We can do security at a perimeter level. We can do security at an identity level. We can do security at a data level. We can do security at an application level. So there are multiple levels. We call that as defense in depth. We would like to secure things at multiple levels. So there are multiple services available with the help of which we would be able to secure things. Then it says something called as economies of scale. What is economies of scale? There are two models. One is CapEx, which we call as capital expenditure. One is OpEx, which we call as operational expenditure. What is the difference? When the organizations were deploying their own data centers, they were following the CapEx model, capital expenditure model. they have to spend huge amount of dollars in order to get the data centers up and running, and then only they would be able to use them. So they were following the capex model. Now, when we are operating on public clouds, when we are operating, let's say on Azure, we are following operational expenditure model. We don't have to spend huge dollars upfront. No need. Whatever we are going to use, we just need to pay the bill for the same, right? Whatever. Let's say if I'll be using 2 machines, I just need to pay the bill for 2 machines. If I'll be creating 3 machines, 2 databases, I just need to pay the bill for the same. So whatever we are going to operate, we just need to pay the bill for the same. Sometimes we also refer it as pay as you go model. We just need to pay what we are going to use. All right, so moving forward. See, what does Azure Solution Architects usually do? So basically, Azure Solution Architect, they are subject matter expert in designing cloud and hybrid solutions that includes compute, networking, storage, application services, data solutions, monitoring, and security. They will have a working knowledge of networking technologies, including connectivity services, application deliveries, network architectures, working knowledge of compute technologies like virtual machines, containers, PaaS services, Kubernetes, working knowledge of storage technologies like relational and non-relational databases, experience architecting solutions, including security, migration, business continuity. So Azure Solution Architects will have all this knowledge. Sometimes people are also interested in clearing the certification, right? So after this training, if you would like to clear the 305 certification, you can do that as well. So when you'll be appearing for certification, in this percentage, you would be able to see questions. So from identity governance and monitoring, somewhere around 25 to 30%. Data storage solutions, somewhere around 25 to 30%. Business continuity solutions, somewhere around 10 to 15%. Infra solutions, somewhere around 25 to 30%. So this is the percentage of questions you may expect during the certification. Like, see guys, usually it's a 4-day training. Usually when we do these trainings for the corporates, usually it's a 4-day training, right? 4-day, 8 hours every day. We understand all of you would not be able to spend 8 hours every day. So we will be breaking it down into weekday and weekend batches. So in weekdays, we will try to spend around 1 hour every day. In weekends, we try to spend like 2 to 3 hours on every weekend. In Saturday and Sunday, we will try to spend 2 to 3 hours every day. That is how it is going to be. So we just need to adjust this a bit. But yes, we will be covering all these topics, right? It's not like it would be a 4-day activity, but yes, we'll be covering all the topics. Now, what are the benefits that you guys are going to get? So when you'll be appearing, when you'll be going for this particular training, you will be getting a project-based real-time training. You'll be getting an Azure Pass. Basically, with the help of this Azure Pass, you guys would be able to perform your labs. See, after theoretical discussion, I will try to demonstrate how to create things, how to do things practically. I would be able to show you practically, but when you have to do it practically, you need some sort of a subscription. So basically, with the help of this Azure Pass, you get $100 of credit, with the help of which you would be able to perform your labs. We will try to help you guys that how you would be able to crack the Azure interviews. We can try to do a mock calls as well, mock interviews, and we will provide you study material and certification dumps. If anyone would like to appear for the certification, we can also provide you the dumps for the same. So these are the complementary benefits that you will be getting with this training, right? Now, before I'll take you to the question and the answer round, let me share something from the Azure, right? See guys, whenever we talk about any technology has some architectures. Azure has got 2 architectures. One is what we call as physical architecture, and one is what we called as logical architecture. These are 2 types of architectures that we have. Let's talk about physical architecture. So we have something called as physical architecture, right? In physical architecture, at the very top, we have got something called as regions. At the very top, we have got something called as regions. Azure has got 60 plus regions, and it is providing services across 140 countries. 60 plus regions and providing services across 140 countries. What do we understand by the name region? See, region is nothing what Microsoft has done. Microsoft has deployed data centers across the globe. Group of data centers that are in close proximity with each other means they are placed close to each other. So group of data centers that are in close proximity with each other, we refer them as one region, right? For example, in India, we have got three regions: Central India, South India, and West India. So it's possible in one country, there can be multiple regions. It is also possible for multiple countries, there can be one region. It entirely depends upon the requirement. Right? So region is nothing but group of data centers. They call it as one region. Azure has got 60 plus regions: East US, West US, UK South, South India, etc., etc., etc. There is a very long list, right? So we have got regions across the globe. After regions in Azure, there is something called as availability zones. There is something called as availability zones. We just need to remember 3 points for the availability zone. Point number 1, out of 60 plus regions, all the regions do not contain availability zone. Out of 60 plus regions, all the regions do not contain availability zone. Approximately around 20 regions contains availability zone, right? Approximately around 20 regions contains availability zone. The question that may come across your mind is, how will we come to know which region contain availability zone? See, we have a Microsoft documentation which clearly says that which regions contains availability zone. So they have clearly mentioned the regions which contains availability zones. I'm sharing this URL in the chat window as well. So these are the regions which contain availability zone. So we can refer to this website and we can easily figure it out that which region contain availability zone and which region do not contain availability zone. So out of 60 plus regions, only approximately around 20 regions contains availability zone. So here in this list, we can see there is one region with the name East US. So any region that contain availability zone, it will have 3 availability zones: availability zone 1, availability zone 2, and availability zone 3. So any region that contain availability zone will have 3 availability zones. 3 availability zones are nothing but 3 physical locations which are at a distance of around 10 to 15 miles from each other, where Microsoft has deployed the data centers. Right? So these availability zones are nothing but 3 physical locations which are at a distance of around 10 to 15 miles from each other, where Microsoft has deployed data centers. So any region that contain availability zone will have 3 availability zones. What's the benefit we get with the help of availability zone? With the help of availability zone, we can achieve better redundancy. Better high availability, better redundancy can be achieved with the help of availability zone, right? So better redundancy or better high availability can be achieved with the help of availability zone. Now, how to achieve that better redundancy? We'll talk during the training, right? It's just a session for all of you. So how do we actually achieve it? We'll talk about the same in the training. Now, after high availability, in every region, we have got data centers. After high availability, in every region, we have got data centers. So in every region, minimum we will have 2 data centers, maximum we can have multiple data centers. In every region, minimum we will have 2 data centers and maximum we can have multiple data centers in every region, right? Then after data centers, we have got something called as racks. After data centers, we have got something called as racks. Racks are the places where actually the resources will be deployed. Racks are the places where actually the resources would be deployed. So after data centers, maybe we can say here racks. In every data center, we will have multiple racks. where actually the resources will be deployed, right? So whenever I use a word called as resources, I am trying to say virtual machine, a virtual network, a database, a firewall, container, Kubernetes, etc., etc., etc. So these are referred as resources. These are referred as resources, right? Guys, just wanted to give you a gist that how the actual training is going to be, how actually we are going to discuss things, right? Just wanted to give you a gist for the same, right? Now, without wasting much time, I certainly understand all of you will have certain questions and certain answers you are looking for. So please go with your questions, right? So please go with your questions. You can go with your questions one by one. And before I do that, in order to enroll for this training, you need to get in touch with this guy. Amit is the guy who would be able to help you out in order to enroll for this particular training, right? I will be the person who will be driving you through the training, like who will be taking the sessions and who will be doing the technical discussions. And he is the guy who would be helping you out with the enrollment part, right? He is a guy who will be helping you out with the enrollment part. So request you all to take a maybe screenshot of this particular, to take a picture of this particular paint, or I have shared his contact details over the chat as well. You can just take it from there as well. So either you can just take a picture. RF is the right guy who would be able to help you with the pricing part. I just take care of the technical things, right? So how to onboard you, how to enroll you for the training, he is the guy who would be able to help you out with that, right? All right, guys. So please go ahead with your questions. You can go one by one. Maybe I think you can raise your hand, right? And we can go one by one and we can take your questions now. Any questions, any queries anyone has? Okay. Raja, please unmute yourself and feel free to ask.
So what are the contents that you are going to cover? Can you just brief it about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just quickly show that to you, right? So let me just quickly show that to you. Just give me one moment and let me show that to you. So we'll be covering, like, there are certain modules that we will be covering in this particular course. Let me quickly take you through that as well. So there are 11 modules that we will be covering in this particular course. Okay, what is AZ104 important? Okay, so while we are opening, see, Abbas, the way that we have designed, actually we have done some customization to this training. So although if you are trained on AZ104, that will be an added advantage, but we certainly understand that maybe most of you have not done AZ104. So the way that we have designed training is we will be covering around 80% of the content of AZ104 as well. We will be covering around 80% of the content for 104 as well, right? So anyone who has not done AZ104 would be able to get the benefit out of that as well. So if you have done that, that's well and good. If you have not done that, that's fine as well. Okay, so sir, this is what we will be covering. We'll be covering governance, compute. Okay, let me share this in this manner. I hope you can see it. Governance, compute, storage, relational, non-relational, data integration, app architecture, authentication, authorization, monitoring, networks, BCDR. BCDR is business continuity disaster recovery, and migrations. This is majorly what we will be covering. If you want the names of the modules, I can show you the names of the modules as well, right? That is what we will be covering. Varun, it's not required. If you have a technical background, I think that would be enough. Easily you would be able to take it up. So if you do not have a Microsoft background, that's okay. What will be included in this particular training? Okay, as I mentioned here, there were some complimentary benefits for this particular training. Let me show that to you quickly again. So these things will be included. You'll be getting some real-time project-based training. You'll be getting Azure Pass, with the help of which you guys would be able to perform your labs. We will be helping you out how you would be able to appear for the interviews, how you would be able to crack your interviews. We can do some mock calls on that. And we will provide you study materials and the dumps, those who will be interested in writing the exam. So we will be providing you certifications, dumps, and the study materials from where you would be able to read things.
So what is your recommendations to start the Azure certificates? Is it good to start with the 900 or is it good to start with the 104? What is your recommendation to start the Azure
Okay, see,
certifications?
one AZ900 is optional. If you want to go with AZ900, that's okay. You can directly start with AZ104 as well, right? In order to become Microsoft Certified Azure Solution Architect Expert, you need to clear two certificates, 104 and 305. AZ900 is optional. So once you go with this training, if you want to appear for AZ900, that would be like a cakewalk, right? So directly you can start with AZ104 followed by AZ305.
Okay, so that means AC 104. Is it easy? I'm not asking that. Is it easy to start without AC 900? I think I'm asking.
Sorry.
Would it be a benefit to complete the AC 900 for AC 100?
If you have done 104, it's not required. Anyone who is starting its career, technical career in cloud or in on-premise, anyone who has just started, for those people we recommend to go with AZ900. Anyone who already have experience, technical experience, and who has cleared AZ104, AZ900 is not required. If you have become the administrator, it already means that you know the fundamentals. Otherwise, you would not be able to become the administrator, right? So when you clear AZ104, you basically become Azure administrator. So 900 would not be required.
Okay, thank you very much.
One, we do not provide the job referrals, yeah, but we can certainly share some links where you would be able to apply. And Kajal, project-based training we will be giving you some scenarios. So we will not be referring you to any organization to do a project-based training. We'll be giving you some scenarios that what kind of a scenarios you may have to face while you will be working on any particular project. That is what we are referring for the project-based training. Do we cover AD sync from on-premise to Azure? Yes, Subha, we will be covering this. We will be covering landing zone. Yes, I think one gentleman has this question. We'll be covering landing zone. I did 104 certification, so for me, no need to learn more or what? Lavanya, if you have done 104 certification, then if you want to become certified solution architect expert, you need to learn few more things. In 104, migration is not covered. In 104, serverless computing is not covered. I'm not sure whether you have learned Kubernetes containers registry in a very well manner or not. ARM templates will be covered. PowerShell, you can make use of PowerShell to create deploy resources in Azure. So how to do that? We can only tell you about that. How to write a PowerShell script, we will not be covering it, right? How can you use PowerShell? If you already know PowerShell, if you already can write scripts in PowerShell, I can show you how you would be able to use PowerShell and you would be able to execute your PowerShell scripts, or you would be able to create resources using your PowerShell script. How to write PowerShell script will not be covered. Is there any way by which we can convert our on-premise environment to cloud, like existing running SQL IIS? Absolutely, Hardik, that is what we refer as migration. So we can migrate things from on-premise to Azure. That's absolutely possible. We'll be discussing it in this particular course. After AZ900, what should be my next target? You can clear 104, then you can clear 305. That should be your target. Right?
In future, you will cover any what is DevOps part of?
Yeah, we will be starting DevOps soon as well, right? One batch is already planned.
Actually, nowadays, the combination of even the market search for the job is that you know the basics plus the Azure DevOps to complete.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, we'll be starting with DevOps as well soon. We'll be covering. So once with this, you will get the complete knowledge of infrastructure. With Azure DevOps, you get the complete knowledge of how to do a source code management, how to do a version control, how can you build your application code, how can you release your application code, how can you make use of some third-party tools like Jenkins, Circle CI, Bamboo in order to do a build operations. We'll be covering that. Right? Will Azure AD be covered? Yes, Azure AD will be covered. Data warehouse will not be covered. Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Means I just want to know Azure DevOps, that is a particular is 400. That will be
AZ400. Absolutely, AZ400.
Yeah.
will be doing that particular course. Absolutely, sir.
Thank
Gaurav, DP 900 and DP 300, they are related to data courses. So if you want to become data scientist, if you want to become data engineer, those are the courses related to the data part. So it talks about more about the data services.
Hi, can you confirm 304 and 303 has been expired, right? It
It
will
will
be
be
by,
expiring on 31st March, right?
so 305 will be all in all, you are telling, for architect.
Yeah, 104 followed by 305. You will be Azure solution architect.
So in 305, is it a combo of 303 and 304, or what do you see like difference, like previous syllabus of 303, 4 and in between the 5?
Like a few services they have launched here, like landing zone they have launched in this, right? More or less you can say 95% content is same. Few services they have launched, few services they have removed. See, whenever a course retire, it does not what Microsoft do. If 303 and 304 is retiring, it does not mean that 305 will come up with a different syllabus altogether. No,
Correct.
hardly 5 to 7% of the content will change and a new certification will be launched, right? For example, landing zone was not a part of 303 and 304. It's here. Few services which were there in 303 and 304 has been removed. So as per the market standard, what Microsoft do, they keep on upgrading some content. So 5% content maybe they will remove, 5% content they will add, and they will come up with a new course number, right?
Yes, and whatever you told, you will be sharing some dump for exam preparation. So is it whatever I heard, will it be relevant 60%, 65%?
Absolutely, it would be relevant.
Okay.
See, we are not sharing dump for the first time, right? So we will be sharing some relevant dumps. Don't worry about it. Price, guys, you can check with Amit. He's the right guy who can help you out with the price and the enrollment part. What is the difference between Azure DevOps and AZ400? AZ400 is the course where we do the DevOps training. AZ400 is a course where we do the DevOps training. For example, AZ305 is a course where we do the Azure architect training, right? Migration from on-premise to Azure will be covered. Azure for Office 365, it will not be covered. Office 365, we have a different course altogether. How can we move infra to one Azure account to another Azure account? Is it possible? Absolutely possible. You can do that. Yamuna, absolutely, it can be done. It's again a migration. You can call it as Azure to Azure migration. It is possible. I will be performing labs as per these scenarios. Absolutely, Sachin, I'll be performing labs as per the scenarios. Is it perfect match of doing Azure DevOps because I'm still into ITIL service operation? Venkatesh, if you do architect and if you do DevOps and if you learn those technologies well, you will be in a good place. It would be a very good combination. Terraform is not a part of this course. Terraform, we will be covering, bit of Terraform we will be covering in Azure DevOps, not in this. Does it cover K8S? Are you referring to Kubernetes? We will be covering Azure Kubernetes in this particular course. Raj, I think, sorry, Raja. Raja will be covering Azure Kubernetes in this particular course. If you are referring K8S Kubernetes.
One question is there, it's for Azure DevOps. I have a fair understanding of ARM template and PowerShell. So how much content is required to start the Azure DevOps kind of things? In my company, we are using CI/CD and ARM template. So apart from that, can you add on something if we are looking for that, so how can you help on that? You told AZ400 will be started by your soon something.
I think it's not a right platform to ask this question. So, but since you have asked, in order to go for AZ400, you first need to be AZ104 certified. That is what Microsoft recommendation is. You have understanding of ARM templates, good. You have understanding of PowerShell, that's good. You need to also have a good understanding of the infrastructure. These are the two things by which you can deploy or you can create the resources. But how the resources gets created? What is tenant? What is directory? What is the difference between tenant and directory? How does the logical architecture works? How do we create containers? How do we push the container images to the container registries? How do we create Kubernetes cluster? How does pod works in the Kubernetes cluster? How does networking works? How does VNet to VNet works? How does site to site work? How does express route works? you need to have all the understanding of all the infrastructure before you go with DevOps. I hope it gives you a clarity.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, tell me one thing. You are providing all the study material in here.
Sorry.
You are providing all the study material. Can you tell me something about the study material? Which type of material you are providing here?
We'll be providing you a book, like a PDF we have created on our own. You would be able to refer that PDF. All the services and their documentation will be there. Plus, I can share you some Microsoft links. Those are Microsoft links by which you would be able to read all the services that we are going to cover in this particular course. So one PDF we would be able to share, and some Microsoft links we would be able to share to you. Okay. After this course, yes, you would be able to take Purna, you would be able to take 104 and 305 both. Absolutely. Backup.
So you
DR,
will be providing dumps for 104 as well?
absolutely. We'll be
Okay.
providing dumps for 104 and 305 both.
Okay.
Is
Thank you.
backup? You're welcome. Is DRHA storage contained? Yes, Hardik will be covering DRHA storage in this particular course. Identity management, single sign-on implementation covered. Identity management will be covering in very detail. Single sign-on implementation I can show you, not a problem. Business application deployments covered. Yes, it will be covered, Tarun. All these things will be covered. Okay. You're welcome. So I think here we have answered most of the questions, right? Is anyone who has missed to take his number for the enrollment? That's a gentleman, Amit, who would be able to help you out with the enrollment process. You can just take a picture of this particular screen, or maybe you can just make a note of this number, right? It's 9540-662-806. So he would be able to help you out with the enrollment part. Class timings, enrollment part, all of that. Amit would be able to help you out. Right? All the logistics part, Amit will be able to help you out. Varun, cloud migration will be covered. I think I have already answered this multiple times. Cloud migration will be covered. Absolutely.
So last question. So we have to connect with the Amit, or Amit is going to connect with us?
You can connect with Amit, right? Those who will be interested, you can just get in touch with Amit. You can reach to him maybe via WhatsApp or maybe via phone call, right? And then he would be able to help you out with the enrollment process.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, guys. So I think we are good. Would like to thank you again, all of you, for spending your valuable time. Okay, course duration will be somewhere around 20 hours, somewhere around, right? It depends how many participants will be there, how many questions will be there. It may varies. As per my experience, what I have seen, somewhere in 20 hours, we would be able to cover it up. Usually the duration of this when we do the corporate classes is 32 hours, 4 days, 8 hours. But on that 32 hours, in a given day, we try to have a discussion around 5 to 5.5 hours. There will be around 1.5 hours of break. There will be around 1 hours of lab time which participants do. So we would be able to utilize all this time here. We don't give you time here to do for the breaks, right? We will not be giving you any time here to perform the labs. You will be performing labs, but after the session, not during the session. So we would be able to save all that time, and probably around 20 hours, we would be able to cover this up. But time duration is not a challenge, or time duration is not something we are looking for. We are looking for the thorough discussion on the topics, right? We are just looking for the maximum knowledge sharing, maximum participation from you, and maximum knowledge sharing can be done. That is what the intent is. But yes, around 20 hours, we would be able to cover it. Yeah, point to site, I can show you via lab. Site to site, I would not be able to show you via lab. In order to perform site to site, we need some sort of a VPN gateway. I don't have a VPN device with me. If you have a VPN device, you would be able to perform that lab. I don't have a VPN device with me. Point to site, I can show you. Point to site VPN, I can show you practically. Site to site, we need a VPN device. Since I don't have that, I would not be able to show you, but I will show you the concept in a very, very clear manner. VNet to VNet. using virtual network gateways, I would be able to show you. We call that as VNet to VNet. Just like we have site to site connection, we have VNet to VNet. So VNet to VNet, point to site, I would be able to show you. Site to site, practically not possible. I don't have a VPN device. But once you see VNet to VNet, once you see point to site, you will have a fair knowledge, fair understanding of site to site as well. You just need a VPN device, and in 2 minutes, you would be able to create that. Right. All right, guys. So thank you very much for giving your valuable time. That is all for mine for today. Right. Would like to thank you all. So just last time, anyone who has missed his number, you can just take a screenshot of it. And would like to thank you all. Have a good rest of the day. Take care. Stay safe. We'll meet you soon. Right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, team.